talking Minnesota Golden Gophers today on Sharpen the Point. 2024, 8-5 season. As long as Fleck's making bowl games, he's good. Head coach P.J. Fleck enters his 9th season. He brings in a new defensive coordinator. He keeps kind of having to replace those guys. He has Danny Collins in his first season. He was promoted from the defensive backs coach after Corey Heatherman went to Miami. He got a massive deal to go there. He's extremely young, Collins is. But he's been with Fleck since Western Michigan. Quarterback-wise, Max Brosmer. He took care of the football. He made plays when necessary, and he led to the best season for a Gopher quarterback since Tanner Morgan in 2019. He had 2,800 yards passing, 23 total touchdowns. I think it was probably a better result than people expected. He now departs, and they're going to have to turn to freshman Drake Lindsey to assume the mantle for what they hope is going to be a long run as their starter. There's going to be certain growing pains, as there are with any young quarterback learning on the job, specifically in the Big Ten. But part of Brosmer's job a year ago was to let Lindsey learn from him what it takes to be successful at this level. How much of that he retains when the bullet starts to fly in the season remains to be seen, in my opinion. He's a big guy at 6'3", 230. He's got a little sneaky athleticism to him, but don't expect to see him run a lot, as he's best suited to win with his big arm in the pocket. He can make every throw and all throws to every level. Behind him, they brought in Emmett Moorhead from Boston College. He comes in as an experienced backup. I think he's going to try to help Lindsey learn, but he should be nothing more than a backup, as he's proven to not be capable winner at this level. Running back wise, it's Darius Taylor's world. We all just live in it. I love this kid. He's an absolute stud. He's going to be a guy we play a ton in daily fantasy. You should play if you don't. Last season, he topped the 200 carry mark, showing his workhorse capability. He got close to that 1K yard mark on the ground. I think that's something he's really going to push to want to accomplish this year, and he should get there if he can be more consistent finding room to run. You know, his ability in the pass game was really the thing that stood out a year ago, and it was a bonus for us in fantasy-wise. It really gave him a solid floor, and it was impressive with him getting 54 catches. He's going to maintain a stranglehold on his bell cow role, and he should continue to put up monster numbers once again. I think he vastly improves on what he did a year ago, even if the catches are lower, likely more in that 35 catch range rather than that 54, as I hope they will not need to rely on him as much in the pass game. Behind him, they're lacking depth overall, but the addition of A.J. Turner from Marshall is going to play Robin to Taylor's Batman, as he really turned in a quality season with the Herd a year ago. He had an absolutely absurd 8.3 yards per carry a year ago on just over 100 touches. It was 104 carries. So it was a good sample size to be able to say that the kid is flat out explosive to be able to maintain an 8.3 yards per carry on over 100 carries. If forced into a feature role, Turner's going to be extremely productive, but beyond him, it's not going to be pretty if you lose the top two. Pass catcher wise, last season, Daniel Jackson may have been my most rostered player in daily fantasy. He was perennially underpriced on both sites compared to how good he was, and he wasn't talked enough about of how good he was last season. He had a 75 catch, 863 yard, 4 touchdown line in a run-first offense, which was a really quality season, and his talent says that it could have been better had they thrown it a little bit more. Now you have Jackson and his partner in crime, Elijah Spencer, are both gone after being the clear top 2 targets last season. Ultimately, they didn't have much behind those guys depth-wise, which is why they were targeted so heavy a year ago. And the portal brought some answers to the questions when they were gone. Javon Tracy from Miami of Ohio and Logan Loya from UCLA are going to play prominent roles. I wouldn't consider either of them to be much of a field stretcher per se, but I loved what I saw out of Tracy last season, as he was a physical wide receiver making plays at all levels overall. He should be the star of the show if he can level his game up to the Big Ten. Loya, meanwhile, I see him as a possession wideout in the slot, capable of making tough catches over the middle of the field and getting you first downs and moving the chains. I just don't see the explosiveness and yak there for him. Lameke Brockington, he's going to return. He should be the one who stretches the field the most after averaging almost 16 yards per catch. He's good on those deep routes. Jamison Gears, he's going to be the pass-catching option at tight end, but ultimately his numbers and opportunities are going to be limited, although I think he can find the end zone a couple times. He's just not necessarily useful from a daily fantasy standpoint. Offensive line-wise, the unit performed okay a year ago. It was decent. It just wasn't up to typical standards in the run game specifically. They were decent protecting Brosmer back there. And now they lose 3 quality starters, including both tackles. All 5 guys are going to be starting in new positions as they shuffled everybody around to find the best unit overall. That's something they struggled with a year ago. They had a ton of talent, but they didn't play well together necessarily. They brought in Dylan Ray from Kentucky, Kali Tafai from Washington, and Marcellus Marshall from UCF to compete for spots. And while it looks like the talented youngster Nathan Roy will get a shot at securing a tackle spot too. Marshall, for his part, he has over 40 starts under his belt. He's going to bring a lot of experience to a guard role, and they're going to need to gel better than last year's unit did to improve upon the push to make holes for the inside and outside zone schemes that Darius Taylor utilizes to find lanes to run through. Along the D-line, the 2 leaders of this group, Danny Strigow and Josh Joyner, they combined for 10 sacks a year ago. They're now gone. Luckily, they did have a deep unit playing upwards of 9 guys in the rotation, so now they're going to need to utilize that depth to step into bigger roles. Anthony Smith is going to be one of the key returning pieces on this defense off the edge after he led the team with 6 sacks last season. Jalen Logan Redding is the top returning piece in the middle of the defensive line, and he's a key part of stopping the run and holding up in the middle and keeping linemen off of the linebackers at the second level. Devin Eastern, he's going to also return for his 3rd year in the rotation as well. And the additions of Rushan Lawrence from Stony Brook and Mo Omonade from Purdue are going to be heavily involved in the rotation as well. The unit is not nearly as deep as it was a year ago. After the first, 4 to 6 guys, they're gonna as a steep drop off in talent for them, and they're really gonna need this room to stay healthy in order to kind of maintain what they've done in past seasons. Linebacker-wise, the loss of leading tackler and overall leader of the defense, Cody Lindenberg, that's going to be a pain point for them. He was pivotal in stopping opposing run games last year. Second leading tackler, Maverick Baranowski, he's going to now step into a more vocal leadership role on this defense. And then flanking him should be a combination of returner Devon Williams, who should see his playing time expand, and Jeff Roberson, who comes over from Oklahoma State. He has some experience. I think he'll be a good addition to the room. Defensive back-wise, there's a lot of losses from last year's stout unit with both corners Ethan Robinson and Justin Waller gone, plus nickelback Jack Henderson going to the NFL. But the cupboard is not bare. There's plenty of talent still here. Kerry Brown, he stepped into a bigger role a year ago, performed great while becoming a leader of this defense on the back end. And Coy Parrish, there's not enough good things you can say about this kid. He led the team with 5 interceptions in his first year en route to an all-conference season. He joined during the summer and was just downright great in the fall. They're going to be building blocks if this unit is to maintain the playing at the high level that they did a year ago. And then Parrish, to that point, he doesn't lack any confidence on the field. He's extremely gifted. I expect him to be a star for years to come at this spot. Looking at the schedule and outlook, the defense is a big question mark. They've had a top 2 round pick in 6 consecutive NFL drafts. If that's going to happen again, it's going to have to be Anthony Smith who does it. Parrish is going to be one eventually. Add in how young they are with the quarterback spot, and we need to see how he plays. and we just kind of have a lot of variability in how this season could go. I like a lot of the pieces with Taylor, Tracy specifically. I want to see how this quarterback plays early, and they get tested early with Buffalo. Don't underrate Buffalo. Buffalo is a MAC contender in that conference. They were one of the most impressive teams I previewed in that conference as far as what they return and the stability and how well they performed a year ago under that coaching staff. I think that's a win, but don't underrate the Bulls. Northwestern State, win. Easy, not a good team. At Cal, I think that's a win. They have a ton of turmoil, a ton of turnover on that roster. They're going to take a while to get it going. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the P4 with Stanford. Rutgers, it'll be a competitive game, should be a win. So you get off to a really nice start. I expect a nice 4-0 start. You should be feeling good. Do not expect to compete with Ohio State. That's a loss, especially at the shoe. Purdue, good win. Nebraska, I think that's a competitive game at home. I'm going to lean loss just because I think Nebraska can be good enough on defense, and the young quarterback Lindsey makes too many mistakes where Raiola should start to come on a little bit stronger. At Iowa, tough spot to play. Lean loss, close game, good build. I think Gronowski, as long as he stays healthy, doesn't try to put his shoulder into too many people, can be the difference maker there with their solid run game. Michigan State could be close. Depends on Aiden Childs. You got two young quarterbacks. If Aiden Childs makes too many mistakes, which I think he continues to do, and this young kid, Lindsey, plays well, the difference maker in that game could just simply be handing it to Darius Taylor 30 times and winning this game. I'm going to lean win there. At Oregon, loss. You're not winning there. Not in Eugene. At Northwestern, I'll say win, although they could be a little bit sneaky this year. And then Wisconsin, I'll say win. I think Wisconsin has a poor season. I don't know that they have a head coach at that point, or at least they'll have an interim maybe at that point. Outside of the trips to Oregon and Ohio State, it's an extremely manageable schedule to break in a young quarterback. Like I said with Buffalo, it's going to present a sneaky early test to the season, and there are spots they could get tripped up in this season. But I see no reason they shouldn't win 7 to 9 games. And if Fleck's making bowl games on a regular basis at Minnesota, he's going to be here as long as he wants.